All right, welcome back. In this segment, we're going to talk about Kohlberg's moral ladder. So, to get us started, let's imagine that this child who I pulled off of the internet, I don't know who they are, their mom just baked these cookies. And the mom said to the child, okay, these are for the bake sale tonight, so don't touch the cookies. You can have one later after the bake sale, but you can't have any right now. And then mom goes off to go get dressed because she has to go to a bake sale. So as we can see, our little 2 to 6 year old child really wants a cookie. So let's explain using Kohlberg's moral ladder the decision making process that this child might go through. Now, first off, let me introduce you to Kohlberg. His name is Lawrence Kohlberg, and he was a student of Piaget and really had internalized this idea that, with biological maturation comes, advances in cognition. So Kohlberg thought if their ability to think about things improves with age, probably their ability to think morally about things improves with age. So he thought that we climb this ladder from the bottom to the top as we age, and by the time we get to adolescence, we will have reached the top rung of the ladder, he thought. Okay, so we're going to just talk about the 2 to 6 year olds, and so we're really going to be focusing in on the pre-conventional level of morality. And in fact, let me define what pre-conventional means. So conventions are societal, it's synonymous with norm or more, if you've ever heard those terms in like sociology or anthropology. These are like rules and accepted ways of doing things, right? So it might not be a written rule, it might not be a written law, but it's sort of an accepted practice. Like we all know that this is what we're supposed to do. So a pre-conventional child, a person who's at the pre-conventional level of reasoning, is not yet going to understand the rules and the norms and why they are the rules or why it's the right or the wrong thing to do. They don't yet understand that. So with the pre-conventional level, there are 2 stages. The first one is when you conform to the rules because you want to avoid punishment. So if this child doesn't take a cookie, it's not because they are good and know that mom needs the cookies for what she said they are for and like that. It's because the child's afraid that if he gets caught with a cookie, he's going to get punished. And so he doesn't do the wrong behavior strictly because he doesn't want to get the negative consequences that might come after that. In stage 2, they may grow a little bit more sophisticated and start to realize, well, if I do what I was told and I don't get into the cookies, mom might reward me for my restraint and give me a cookie. So by being good, I may actually, in the long run, get what I want. And so they're seeking out rewards with their good behavior. They're in both of these stages, the really most consistent thing is that they are not doing the behavior for the behavior's sake. They're doing it because of what they think the environment's going to do to them or for them. So that's really super important to remember. Pre-conventional level, I do not understand why I'm not supposed to eat a cookie. All I know is I was told not to. I'm either afraid I'm going to get punished if I do eat a cookie, or I'm hoping I'll get rewarded if I don't take a cookie when I was told not to. So that's the pre-conventional level. We're going to revisit Kohlberg's moral ladder as we age through, middle childhood will be typically the conventional level, and then adolescence, we'll talk about the post-conventional level, and then we'll actually revisit Kohlberg again when we get into adulthood. So this is not the last time you're going to see Kohlberg. All right, let's talk about that language development that I just alluded to. During this period of time, we're experiencing what's called a vocabulary explosion. I found this article that is related to this issue from 2014. I put the citation at the bottom. And they were just interested in kids up to age 30 months. So that would be like the very beginning of the age bracket we're talking about. This first graph just shows you how like steep the curve is of how many words they're learning. They're just acquiring something like 20 words a day on average. So the average 2-year-old, they've got maybe 500 words in their vocabulary. By the age of 6, you're talking about 10,000 words. I mean, that's a lot of words every day that these kids are learning. So how do they do it? By the way, I wanted to say something. A lot of times, again, parents will hear that their toddler should be uttering, that their toddler should know, 100 words by now. I know my daughter saw that on her checkup documentation. She's like, I don't think she knows 200 words. I'm like, you got to remember, it's not just what she can produce, it's also what she can understand. And my granddaughter understood a lot of the things we were saying to her. She wasn't saying a lot of things back. So I'm like, you have to count the productive, the ones that they're uttering, as well as the receptive, the ones that they're hearing and understanding. And you know that they're understanding because you say, go get your doll, and they come back with their doll, right? You know that they're understanding it because they can demonstrate that they are. So it's really important. Don't forget, it's productive and receptive words. So how do they acquire all this vocabulary? First off, they use a lot of what we call fast mapping, which is where they hear a word and they make their best guess about what it must mean. So they maybe have no idea what the word is, but they go, well, I'm going to guess from context, intonation, and gesture that you're talking about that thing over there. Let me go get it and see if that's what you're talking about, right? So fast mapping is them making their best guess about what you must be talking about. And then the other thing that really helps them is they display what we call logical extension. So they know what one word means, so that will help them to figure out what another word must mean. Let me give you a couple of examples from that study that I just showed you. So one thing that kids do is they use what's called disambiguation. So we have the parent off to the left saying, yes, use your spoon. That's your spoon, right? And they've been teaching this child since they were an infant what the word spoon means. Now they've got two objects out in front of them. One's the spoon that we've been labeling for the past 2 years. And the other one on the left is some new object that I've never seen before. And the adult says, can you give me the modi? Well, through disambiguation, the child is going to recognize, well, I know what the spoon is. The only thing that's here that I don't know is going to be this thing here. That must be the modi. And they'll hand it over. So this is them, fast mapping, logically extending. Well, it's not a spoon. It doesn't look anything like a spoon. It must be a modi. So that's one way that they learn words. The other one is through what's called kind-specific generalization. So let's say that we've taught them a brand new word. Look, it's a dax, right? So this object with spots on it with this particular shape is being labeled by the adult as a dax. So now we show the child two things. One has the same spots as the dax had, but a different shape. And then one has the same shape as a dax, but a different pattern on it. Can you find me another dax? Children will typically make the logical extension that the shape is the most important thing, and they'll correctly recognize, they'll generalize that shape is the most important thing. I'm going to say the thing on the left must be the dax. And that helps them to figure out what words we're talking about. They use what they do know to help figure out what they don't know and make logical guesses about what must be being referred to and so on. So language development is not passive. It's not something, like I said, can be taught by baby Einstein. It's something that requires give and take, lots of consistency across lots of different contexts, right? We see the bowl and the spoon. We see the spoon in a bottle. Now we see a spoon in something we don't know, right? This is how kids figure it out. And they have to figure it out. We never sit down and teach them on purpose. We teach them by talking about things. And so these are the strategies, fast mapping and logical extension, that make those things possible. All right, let's go ahead and stop here, and we will talk in the next segment about how they acquire the rules for language, what we call grammar. I'll see you on the other side.